told you all earlier, my dad always told me I could come to a rock. But I just wanted to say to the board and to the community that I am very privileged and very proud to be able to continue working for the County of Nelson and to do the best of my ability, the best that I can to help everyone equally. And I'm looking forward to the next several years. I hope it to be that I'll be able to do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Back to VDOT report. Getting your steps in today.
A little over a year since I've been here, Lex, but,
Is your mic on?
green.
It's green, okay.
Yeah, it's been a little over a year since last time I was here, but, Rob gave me the opportunity to fill in for today, so, we're gonna do the best we can.
Hold your mic down a little bit.
Yeah, we can.
Does it work?
I don't know, tap on the thing. Yeah, it's on.
There we go.
All right.
Those who don't remember Daniel Brown, filling in for Robert. I spoke with him yesterday and, we talked about Route 653 Wilson Road. That project is complete. Route 814 Kansas Mountain, that is under construction at the moment. I think that was a request for a couple of trees on Route 151. Nellie's for to be removed. We have those taken care of as well. One other maintenance item that we talked about was mowing on Roseville. We want to try to, that's going to be taken care of by the end of next week if it hasn't been already. So that covers one of the items. One of the upcoming events, I believe, we're going to provide support for is the event down at Pine River Fire Department. I think it's a fundraising event. We're going to get some extra boards out there for that. That's all we can recall on the old stuff, so if y'all have any questions or anything new, I'll take all notes we need.
Yes, so I did send an email correspondence about, I can't remember the road, Mr. Loving. I think our buddy, Mr. Youngblood, is looking at it right now. And if at some point you might be able to answer some of the questions in reference to the Heart Club, the gentleman over here on your way out, y'all can talk in the hallway, that would be great. Other than that, that's what I have. Skip, what do you got?
Well, it's just, is there a reason why the grass has been cut and leaving?
Yeah, I was listening to her comments and I made a couple of notes, you know, but we're not intentionally neglecting those medians. What we try to do is, we have statewide mowing standards on primaries with medians that are, if they're narrow, if they're 50 feet or less, we mow the whole median, you know, every time. And then once it gets above 50 feet wide, you know, we go back to the standard statewide mowing, which is 18 foot, you know, back off the edge of pavement. And I made a specific note to check crossovers and stuff because, you know, we try to, we really need to cut those back further, you know, instead of just 18 foot. So I made a note here to check on that, make sure we cut them back for sight distance and stuff. And I think that's the biggest issue right there on the crossover part of it.
Okay. All right. Skip, anything else? Mr. Harvey? Mr. Reed?
I have a few things, all in the vicinity of Rockfish Valley Highway and Spruce Creek Lane. First of all, on Rockfish Valley Highway, just north of the entry to Horizons Village, across from Bolt, on the same side of the road as Bolt Rock. There's a deep rut right off the pavement that probably needs filling and grading or something like that. Would be an easy thing for someone to get a tire stuck in, especially in the vicinity of Bolt Rock. And on Spruce Creek Lane, I'm thinking about 150 feet once you're there on the north side. Trees, leaves, and overgrowth are causing some runoff on that road that probably needs to be cleaned out when there's before there's a freeze and it becomes a problem there.
That's on the shoulder part.
Yes, yeah, and then finally, at the intersection of Spruce Creek and Rockfish Valley Highway, when you're coming out of Spruce Creek Lane, and you look at the sight line to the south, the sight lines are really bad, even though it's the short turn. Cars come over the hill pretty quickly from the other direction, so there was a blinking light installed. But if you could take a look at that on the corner and see if there's a way that you can improve the sight lines, maybe a cut or maybe just vegetation. I'm not exactly sure. But when Mr. Brown comes back next month, we can follow up on it.
We got to have an answer before then.
Okay, that's good.
One last thing on the mowing out on 29, we are August 15th, we're supposed to start mowing primaries again for Labor Day, so that is coming up. Should see an improvement there. So.
All right. Mr. Parker?
And they're out mowing today, actually, I noticed. But it is some of the crossovers, that's the big thing. I had to do a Blue Ridge Medical, crossing over there, the sight distance was pretty bad. So,
No, we really like to, the message we deliver is, cut those back, a little further, even if the median is wider than 50 foot, we're not gonna cut the whole thing, just cut it back, get that sight distance in there.
and they did get in front of the schools, looking good, so we appreciate that. Something that I've been asking about in the last couple of meetings, there is a gentleman on Lowesville Road and Piney Road, Mr. Cottrell, and his bridge, I'll call it, where the creek goes through, when the water gets up, his drainage is so bad, it kicks the water into the road and causes really bad water levels to rise in the road. It has to be barrels put up quite a bit when there's high water. But he was told quite some time ago that that VDOT would replace, if he bought the pipe, well, he's had the pipe for 2 months, and it's ready. So if we can just make sure he's on the list to have that, because it's not only going to help, what I think is not a great crossing right there, but it's going to help Lowesville Road, because the water kicks out in there quite a bit.
All right. We'll let the shipper let us know about that, and then we'll get that scheduled.
Thank you. That's all.
All right. Anything else?
Any other additions that we need to read out at this time? You good? All right. Yes, sir.
I don't know if anyone is here from planning community, but I'm also covering land use activities in Nelson County temporarily.
Okay.
Until we get a replacement for our hay, so I'm gonna leave these cards with you.
Just give them this, or, yeah, these are for us, this one.
Make a bunch of them. Thanks, everything they need. I'm sure I'm gonna be in contact with most of the folks from the planning and stuff, so.
Perfect. Yeah. Catch them fill out in the hallway. It'd be great. All right. Moving on to the comprehensive plan status report.
All right, hello everyone. So the initial phase of public engagement concluded on August 3rd. This document that's in your packet summarizes engagement and outreach efforts, outlines feedback received from the community, and identifies additional engagement efforts. So in summary, the Nelson2042.com website was published in mid-June. The site's had over 100 subscribers, and the idea wall has an active list of comments. The Berkeley group's maintaining a log of the comments, and a summary is coming to you at your first joint work session, which should be in September, and that'll be the board and planning commission. The website includes information about opportunities to participate. It's got background data, existing plans and reports, As summaries and draft plans become available, they'll be posted on the website. And they utilize email communication to notify subscribers of upcoming opportunities. Like I said, there's about 100 subscribers right now. We did a youth art challenge last week of school. We sent in home to every student at the elementary schools and middle school this youth art challenge, which detailed opportunities to get involved over the summer, as well as an opportunity for the kids to draw a picture, write a poem of what they want for their Nelson in the future. We've only gotten a few of those back, so what we've decided is now that the kids are bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, ready to go back to school, we're gonna take another shot at that and send some more out so the kids can hopefully get some back to us. For the public input survey, we have it online and available hard copies. This was published on July 1st. It'll be available currently through August 31st through the end of the month, unless the Board and Planning Commission decide to extend that. To date, the online survey has over 540 responses. Nearly 87% of those are permanent residents of the county. 41% of those are residents of Livingston. 23% Afton and Rockfish. That's the majority of responses we've gotten. Gladstone and Schuyler had the lowest representation with less than 1% and 1.4%. Remaining responses are distributed evenly among other locations. About 50% of respondents are over 65 years of age. The highest identified occupation, 45%, is retired, 20% work in Nelson, 12% work from home, and 11% work in Charlottesville or Albemarle. And 78% of survey respondents identified as white or non-Hispanic. Hard copies are available in locations across the county and by request. There's a list attached with your memo of all the locations we have these hard copies distributed, and we've had quite a few citizens come and pick up copies that they wanted to distribute themselves. In your memo at the time, we had only received 9 hard copy responses. As of today, we have 29 hard copy responses, and those are getting entered into the system. 3 in-person public workshops have been completed, open to the general public, advertised through the website, nelson2042.com. We ordered flyers and postcards and had those go out in waves weekly leading up. Social media, word of mouth. Each workshop had a brief presentation by the Berkeley group describing what a comprehensive plan, why it's important, how to participate. The attendees worked in small groups to answer questions about strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities, followed by specific questions related to different topics such as transportation and infrastructure, growth and development, recreation and outdoors. Data is currently being tabulated and will also be included in your results summary that will be at your joint work session. The sessions we held were at the high school on July 13th. There were approximately 35 people. The second was July 20th at Rockfish Elementary School. Approximately 50 people attended. And then on August 3rd at the Nelson Heritage Center, approximately 60 people attended that one. We also have held 4 stakeholder listening sessions. They were held as roundtable discussions between representatives of specific industries and interest groups, and the Berkeley group hosted those. County staff identified participants and issued invitations. Summaries of the listening sessions also are coming to you at your joint work session in the results summary. The 4 different stakeholder groups were development and housing on July 13th, hospitality, lodging, and tourism on July 20th, agriculture and agritourism on August 3rd, and community groups and nonprofits on August 3rd. I wasn't able to attend these, but from what I understand, the discussion was very robust and a lot of good conversation came out of it. Regarding outreach and advertising, these are the ways that we've tried to get the word out. The Nelson 2042 website and email blasts, the Nelson County website at the very top of the page, there's a link that shoots you right over to Nelson 2042. Flyers and postcards we distributed to businesses, libraries, community centers, post offices, churches, and additional locations. Press release announcing the kickoff was distributed to news outlets. The Crozet Gazette advertised, CBS 19 News advertised, and the Nelson County Times covered the joint kickoff and promoted the website. Also for social media, Nelson County Tourism and Parks and Recreation advertised through their platforms and word of mouth. As part of the engagement process from the Berkeley group, and county staff received comments and feedback from the community regarding engagement and outreach process. Comments were received verbally, through email, and through exit surveys that were completed at the end of the workshops on July 20th and August 3rd. Most participants felt the workshops were effective and useful, but there was concern regarding who was reached and who was participating. Specifically, that public surveys were initially not readily available in print format. The county's not made adequate effort to reach all segments of the community and relied too heavily on web-based advertisement, and a lack of diversity in public workshop participants, particularly at the July 20th workshop at Rockfish Elementary. To address concerns regarding the survey, hard copies were distributed to additional locations throughout the county, and the deadline for submitting the survey was extended from August 15th to August 31st. Individuals attending the in-person meeting were encouraged to take surveys to distribute to their neighbors and employees. And if desired by the Board and Planning Commission, the survey deadline can be extended into September to allow for more participation. And the Berkeley group has provided us with some additional engagement efforts that were suggested to ensure equitable participation in the plan update process, make sure we're accurately understanding and capturing the point of view of our citizens, and aid in drafting the plan so that it will be successfully adopted and used by the community. The Board and Planning Commission should consider which of these options will be most appropriate for Nelson County. And based on that direction, the Berkeley group will provide a scope and schedule amendment and will work with staff to schedule additional sessions. So also in your packet, they've provided a chart of different types of engagement that they've proposed. One being additional hands-on workshops, which would be styled similarly to the ones that have already been held, roundtable discussions. Or engagement results confirmation forum, that would be another public meeting to present the results of the engagement efforts, including the workshop and survey results. This would allow participants to validate results, identify any additional issues and opportunities. It could be conducted in person, open house, and virtually simultaneously. We could do additional stakeholder listening sessions on different topics like diversity and inclusion, health, environment, climate action, regional federal agencies, authorities, youth. We could do topic-focused work groups that would be comprised of stakeholders with interest and expertise to gather data, verification, and recommend drafts. Number and topics addressed by these work groups would be determined based on consultation with staff and input from you all. They have Spanish translation available. Student involvement, that would be county staff led if we attend a government class or after school program to share information and get feedback. And then additional advertisements, additional notices, distribution of flyers, postcards, things like that. So here is a list of all the locations that we've distributed to. We add to it every week. There's a little bit on the next page. So if you all have any questions for me.
Certainly, and I think there's a little bit of discussion that I want to make sure that we don't skip over is the potential of, I think you said it on the additional workshops. Just want to make sure we don't miss that today. But first, we want to say, we've been thinking great for you. Glad to see you here today.
Thank you.
So it's glad to have you back. So, does anybody have any questions for Dylan as to what she just said before we kind of get into discussion of where we're at and thinking? How many surveys did you say it was total taken online?
Online, about 540.
540.
Yes, 540 online, and we've got about 30 hard copies of it.
Great. Any
I
questions?
would be supportive personally, of an additional session. You know, we want to make sure that we said that we were thorough, we captured everybody, we reached everybody. So I'm certainly not opposed to an additional workshop.
There's been some discussion, I know Mr. Reed and I had talked, it may be appropriate to have one that is, the groups who are in 151 are very active, and they want to be 151, likely to have one there and another one centrally located in the county, so two.
Two additional sessions.
I think that is appropriate, and I believe one sentiment that is important is that we kind of do this probably on a weekend. You know, whether that's at 3 o'clock after church, or maybe even a Saturday at 2, as much as I don't want to do that in the middle of the summertime. I know kids will be back in school. That could be up for discussion between staff Berkeley and ourselves and the planning commission as to what time, but I believe a weekend-centered opportunity would allow for, you know, more participation and people would not be in a rush. 5:30 was, it felt a little bit too soon for any folks who, as I have mentioned in prior meetings and here is, you know, we need to get some native Nelsonians who got 2 kids and got 5 generations. You know, we need to get some buy-in from our folks who have been years and from years and, you know, got a lot to say. And I think some of these groups, I went to all 3, and there was definitely some folks who came there that was great, especially at the latest one at the Heritage Center. There's a lot of folks who were born and raised in Nelson. But there's some folks we need to try to really hit, you know, and who have 5 generations, and their input's going to be very critical. Make sure we have that buy-in in Nelson. So.
And what would you be looking to do these, you know, as soon as possible, as we wrap up public engagement in the beginning?
Yeah, I've got a question on that. The option for the engagement results confirmation, those could be public, would be public meetings as well, I see from this. Because my thought is that if that's something that was done, it would be an opportunity for people that haven't yet participated to participate, but it would also give them something to look at to say, you know, how good are our results? What did we miss? As opposed to starting again from ground zero with another workshop. I don't know how you all feel about that, but I think that would have a lot more value since the cost would basically be the same. What would the timing be for that? That would necessarily be September, October, once everything was compiled?
I would think, so this would just be the results of the engagement effort, so the survey. And I'm assuming that would be before your joint session, so you can get the results of that at your joint session. So I would probably recommend beginning of September, so we can try and keep on schedule. So we can look at some dates and shoot them out. Looking at Saturdays preferably, or Sunday, I'm sorry, Sunday.
Sundays, I think there's a good potential at Sunday at 3. Probably,
Okay.
that's what most people, I mean, that's just my personal thought.
I think that's a good idea. All of our workshops are on Wednesdays, so if anyone had a Wednesday conflict, they would be out.
Can't reach
So-
everyone at Wednesday.
Right, so, and it would give people an opportunity to prioritize their free time if they have it.
And we would be looking at both of these additional sessions being the engagement results confirmation style rather than the roundtable work sessions.
No, we need the roundtable work session, I would imagine, because we're trying to target an audience that hasn't been able to participate yet.
Okay, so proposing one hands-on workshop and then finally an engagement results confirmation forum?
I don't.
You can have several different discussions, but if you have a specific thing to discuss, you know, like at the meetings, you know, we had recreation, economic development, etc. But to put forth ideas about that and discuss those ideas can be more productive.
And that's exactly what the workshops are set up to do. Is get feedback from the community on what their ideas are, what they think our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities are, and discuss them in small groups, and then they absorb that and provide a summary report of everything they've heard from the community, and then they present that to you in September and say, here's what we got from these workshops. Yeah, but that's exactly what they're designed to do.
I certainly would encourage more workshops. The two, Bernie, am I misunderstanding you? These next two, I wanted to be workshops similar to what we did, unless you're saying something.
Well, I don't want to lose the option for the engagement results, because like I said, that, you know, I mean, even though we did exit polls on the last two sessions, it would give the participants something to look at and to, you know, to be able to say, this was good, this was left out, as opposed to going back to the beginning and just, you know, pulling the ideas, which I think, I think that was done well. And you could, and those people didn't have to be present at the initial workshops to be able to be productive and participate. There's no prerequisite for that. I just think that it would have more value, personally.
Okay. So engagement workshop and then one more workshop? Is that kind of what you're saying?
I was thinking that the engagement results would be good to have too, because again, you know, as it says, one or two, acknowledging 151 corridor, 29 corridor as, you know, as perhaps a little different and making easy to get to. I'm not opposed to another hands-on workshop, but I think that engagement results would be good to have.
So I would probably say, obviously, I think with your, I would certainly say the workshop that was in Rockfish was fairly well representative of the folks who live in Rockfish. I think that's not an unfair thing to assume. I feel like Mr. Parr and Mr. Barton, maybe you would agree or disagree, because I know you both went to Livingston with us. We were missing a sizable local population that I was expecting to participate. And I would at least say for the 29 corridor and south and east / west to a degree, we need one more working workshop so that we can try to target our natives and try to get them out to participate. If I would actually have no issues with the Rockfish one being an engagement results confirmation forum. I think that we could do one more workshop over here and then end it over there at your side on 151 as an engagement results. Does that make sense? Or am I?
Well, except that the engagement results would be countywide since there's only one.
Right. So do you want to do a third? You want to do a third one? 2 engagements?
I would say yes. If people are concerned about the cost, I would prioritize the engagement results. But like I said, I have no problem doing another hands-on workshop to, you know.
Okay, I think at least one, which would be representative of centrally located here in Livingston, so the folks in this area can participate. And then at least what we could do is do an engagement one over at Rockfish side.
Let me just say that I would not be opposed to having an engagement workshop on the, you know, in Livingston.
Okay.
You know, as the county center, because it's supposed to be countywide.
Sure.
Would, you know, perhaps to some extent deal with the imbalance there is on people.
I guess that's fair, because we're gonna have an issue with folks over here wanting to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's do 2. One that's a hands-on workshop, and one that's an engagement results confirmation forum, and we'll center them both in Livingston.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Or does that make sense to y'all, David?
Yeah, and when we do the engagement results, let's not do it at 5:30.
No.
That's just,
Absolutely.
that was tough for people. You know, when you're getting off work in Charlottesville or Lynchburg at 5 o'clock, it's almost impossible.
And now people are picking up kids.
And your suggestion that it be done on a weekend is not a bad suggestion.
Yeah,
I'm fine with both. I think Sunday's a good day.
I do too.
Sunday at 3, folks, generally, you ain't got a soccer game, a baseball game, you ain't got, more than likely you'll be having an opportunity there. And
Or a
Early
community
in the-
event.
yes,
So they can pencil into the calendar.
yeah, and Mr. Parr said he was gonna do some grilling for us, cook us dinner.
Do you have a desired location?
Somewhere Livingston Center, see what, probably Nelson Community, the
Nelson
community
Center.
center. I think that might be a little bit more casual as opposed to the school. We could do the school, somewhere in that, we could talk about that, the location, as long as it's 29 quarter
Okay,
on Center.
so we're looking at one hands-on workshop to kind of catch the southern,
Southern, western,
western
eastern.
portions of the county.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then we'll do an engagement that does the whole thing, tells us where we're at, and hopefully we'll be good.
I'm supportive of that as staff.
Perfect. Okay. Is there any other guidance or any other comments? Candy?
I just have a suggestion. I guess we could possibly employ our reverse 911 system to target a message to either certain areas that we're trying to reach, the southern or western areas of the county, just notifying people of the extra engagement session. There may be a cost associated with that, but we could look into doing that prior to these extra meetings, if the board would like.
As long
That
as-
was what I was gonna add too, is if the board can also outreach to your communities to try and get your constituents there. That would be super helpful. Also, if anyone has any ideas on how to further outreach, board, community, anybody, more than glad to take them. We're trying to make sure, like we said, that we reach everybody.
It'd be good, Candy, to use the system. You haven't used it yet, have you?
Not very much, a few
I'm
times.
saying,
not much.
just kind of do
Roll road. All right. I think that sounds good. Is there any other guidance? Is there any comments from staff at this time? Questions?
Just wondering what the timing is looking like for the joint meeting.
Okay, that's right.
They have it scheduled for September. They don't have a date selected yet. I imagine that's something that we'll decide together as a group. So I'll send out some dates to get these scheduled, and the Berkeley group will send us back an amendment for the contract to get the numbers worked out.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Candy. All right, moving on. Sorry to keep you guys waiting. This next item is the consideration of commemorative naming of a bridge of a really, really great man. Mr. Miles is someone who, in my family, has been a very important figure. One that I can't tell you how many times my grandma talked about. Everybody knows that he was probably one of the best butchers around. And at the same time, was one of the most gentle, kind-hearted, and just great people to be around. And I just want to be reminded, because Mr. Miles is also a very godly man, and so is his family. They're very faithful, and something as a brother in Christ, I think it's important to say. I think of godly men and how they walk, and I look to the verse 1 Timothy 6:11. It talks about the virtues of a man and how he should move. That's to pursue righteousness, godliness, faith, love, endurance, and gentleness. Mr. Miles has exemplified that not only as the public servant that he has been in our county, but to his family. There's not a man who's more proud of his family and who they were and how hard they worked than Mr. Miles. And it is with great pleasure that I'm going to read this resolution, naming a bridge that I think has a lot of significance to Mr. Miles. I think there may have been a story about him walking the track a lot to work, or whether it was driving across to get to the fire department, or whatever it may be. Mr. Miles crossed this bridge a lot. And so at this time, I'm going to read a resolution. And as chair, this will act as the motion of approval with a called vote at the end. Resolution R 2022-48, Nelson County Board of Supervisors request for commemorative naming of a bridge. A resolution requesting the Commonwealth Transportation Board to name the bridge structure over the Norfolk Southern Railroad on Route 6 in the Faber area of Nelson County as the Godfrey E. Miles Memorial Bridge in honor and recognition of an esteemed and universally respected and dedicated public servant of Nelson County. Whereas the late Godfrey Edward Miles, a native son of Nelson County, was a committed, devoted, and selfless public servant throughout his lifetime until his passing on February 16, 2021. And whereas Mr. Miles began working at the young age of 13 at Lambert's store in Faber, walking the railroad tracks to work each day. And whereas Mr. Miles gave tirelessly of himself as a lifetime volunteer, serving more than 45 years with the Faber Volunteer Fire Department, as well as more than 30 years of service with the Nelson County Rescue Squad. And whereas Mr. Miles served as an officer of elections for decades, committed to promoting democracy and ensuring fair and impartial elections. And whereas Mr. Miles served on the Board of Zoning Appeals for Nelson County for nearly 30 years. And whereas the Nelson County Board of Supervisors seeks to honor its native son, Godfrey Edward Miles, with an enduring symbol to recognize and commemorate Mr. Miles for his distinguished and outstanding service to Nelson County. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Supervisors of Nelson County, Virginia, that said Board of Supervisors hereby and respectfully request, pursuant to the code as mentioned of Virginia, that the Commonwealth Transportation Board name the bridge structure over the Norfolk Southern Railroad on Route 6 in the Faber area of Nelson County as the Godfrey D. Miles Memorial Bridge. That is a motion to approve. Do we have support? Second from Mr. Harvey. Any discussion? Hearing none, we will do a roll call vote.
Mr. Harvey,
Yes.
Mr. Barton,
Yes.
Mr. Farr,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. Rutherford.
Yes. Thank you all. Please give them applause. So hopefully by the time we get around to getting the sign, I don't know what the timeline is, we'll do something. Let's try to meet up and talk some and do something maybe over at Rescue Squad beforehand. All right? Thank you all. Your husband was an amazing feature, and God has blessed us to have him in this community. Thank you, Ms. Miles. All right, we're going to take a quick 5-minute recess.